So, my name's Mia. I lost my parents when I was just a little kid. I was only about 7 or 8 when I started living with my aunt and uncle, Aunt Carol and Uncle Jim. They're the ones who raised me. I went to school, got enrolled, and alongside my studies, I helped Aunt Carol a lot with the housework. Aunt Carol really tried to teach me everything about running a household. Washing dishes, cooking, all that stuff. Now, my aunt and uncle had 2 kids of their own, a boy named Mark and a girl named Sarah. But Mark and Sarah, they always looked at me differently. They never gave me the time of day. If Uncle Jim came home from work with some good snacks, he'd call his own kids over first. Whatever was left, then he'd give it to me. You get it, right? They totally divided us, the ours and the hers. But what could I do? Since my dad and mom weren't alive, I was an orphan in this world. So, I figured, at least they were giving me a chance, giving me some food to eat. With that in mind, I did odd jobs around their house from a young age. I cooked, did this, did that. Aunt Carol really worked me hard around the house. Meanwhile, their 2 kids just sat around, doing nothing. Their only job was to study and go to school. But compared to them, I was a really good student, a top performer. As I kept studying like this, I went to high school, then college. When I was in my first year of community college, the neighbors started egging on my aunt and uncle, saying things like, "The girl's grown up now, and she doesn't have parents. You've raised her since she was little, so why don't you marry her off? How much more will you let her study?" My uncle would say, "Yeah, we're looking to marry her off, we're searching." And you know what, folks? Sometimes good proposals would come my way. Guys would come to check me out for marriage, but even with good offers, my aunt would just say no. My aunt, deep down, never wanted me to go to a good family, never wanted me to have a good marriage. That was her heart's desire. Anyway, good proposals kept coming. I was actually prettier than their own kids, and I looked good too. Plus, I was smart. Not only that, but in the struggle of daily life, my aunt made me do all the household chores, day after day. I'd cook in the morning, study a bit, then go to school. After school, I'd come back and help my aunt with the cooking again. And their kids? They wouldn't even lift a finger. That was the big difference. So, my aunt never wanted me to go to a good family, to find a little happiness. That was her real wish. So, when she kept saying no to good matches, I started thinking, maybe my aunt just isn't finding someone good enough here, so she's looking for a really good match for me. Neighbors and people would ask, "Your daughter's grown up, aren't you going to marry her off?" And my aunt would say, "First, we'll marry her off, then Sarah." But I understood that, deep down, I was just a burden to them. Anyway, they were going to marry me off first. And so, proposals would come, and my aunt would say no. They'd come, and my aunt would say no. Then, one day, a marriage proposal suddenly came. My aunt told me, I was in my first year of community college at the time. She said, "Mia, your marriage has been set in such and such a place. Get ready for the wedding. We're going to marry you off." I said, "Okay." So I discreetly did a little digging. I found out that the previous proposals were all really good. But now, my aunt had easily agreed to this one. That's why, folks, I did a little digging to figure out what was going on. I knew my aunt never wanted what was good for me. But suddenly, she agreed to this guy. So, I needed to check him out. I asked around, and I found out the guy was a security guard. His parents weren't alive. In other words, he was from a really low-class background. And that's why my aunt had agreed. No wonder. Anyway, after finding this out, I cried a bit. But I didn't let my aunt know. Then, after a few days, she married me off there. When I left that house and went to my husband's home, I realized I had never received any respect or praise in my aunt's house. Not from my uncle, not from my aunt, and not even from their 2 kids. They never looked at me with kindness. If I was a little late giving them water, they'd hit me. They'd poke me and say mean things. They'd just say whatever. I had endured this day after day, and it wasn't something new. I had gotten used to the pain. For those whose lives are full of hardship, what's new about more pain? I had learned to live with this suffering. Then finally, they married me off into that house. When I went, I saw a small, broken-down shack. His parents weren't alive. The guy was just a security guard, and he earned enough to get by. And I slowly realized he was as unfortunate as I was. He had no parents, no one. But he was an honest guy. On our wedding night, he kept saying to me, "Hey, my darling, look here, my darling, look here." He kept repeating it. So, I lifted my veil, and he said it again 3 times. "Darling, look at me. Why are you so shy?" At that moment, I felt so good because for the first time in my life, someone spoke to me with respect, with love. No one had ever called me like that with affection since I lost my parents as a little girl. Since then, I had struggled through life in my aunt's house until I grew up and was married off to this guy who was like a beggar, who had nothing. A broken down shack with no windows, just a cloth covering one. A broken bed. My aunt and uncle felt they were finally rid of me by marrying me into a family like this. So, I thought to myself, whether it's good or bad, this is my husband's home, and I have to adjust here. With that thought, I wiped away my tears and looked at my husband with downcast eyes. I saw he had a really handsome face, but he had no one. I asked him, "Listen, why are you calling me like that? However you call me, you're my husband, and I'm your wife. And this is my home. Because my parents aren't alive, I never received any self-respect in my aunt and uncle's house. The way you're calling me, my darling, beautiful darling, looking at me with respect, my heart is just full. I don't want anything from you. I just want one thing. Throughout our lives, whether you give me a little less food or a little more, that doesn't matter. But please keep me with love and respect. My whole life, I've come to your home from my aunt and uncle's house, where I was always in turmoil and disrespected." Then my husband said to me, "Mia, what can I say? I've never received any self-respect from anyone in my life either. I also lost my parents when I was little. I heard my mother was a prostitute. And my father, unable to bring her back, failed and stopped living, leaving this world too soon. My mother, eventually, when I grew up, I found out, was mentally tormented and also left this world." So, after hearing his tragic story, I realized I was truly an orphan in this world. What could I do? Where could I go? A prostitute's son, no one would give him a place when he was a little child. A kind person took my hand and brought me into his home. He told me, "From today onwards, you'll stay with our family." He'd provide food and care, but he'd make me do all sorts of household chores. Buying things, looking after things. When I grew up and became a young man, they gave me that security guard job and set a salary for me. They understood that in the future, if I married, I'd be able to support my family. So, I have no one before or after me. That's why, you see, I don't even have a proper home. I come back from duty and stay in this broken shack. And I used to eat out, didn't need to cook. But now that you're here, what can I do? Don't be ashamed seeing all this. Please accept it. I promise I will never cause you pain again, because I'm just like you, filled with the suffering of neglect. And I've never received the respect a person deserves in my life. So, I understand your pain, your state of mind, Mia. Please depend on me a little. Don't be sad. I will keep you with the utmost respect, even though I have nothing. But I will try." Then I said, "Okay, that's fine. That's all I want from you, nothing else. You've given me a place in your heart. We're married. I accept this broken home, everything." Then he asked me, "All right, Mia, what did you study?" I told him, "I was studying in my first year of community college when I got married to you." Then my husband said, "Okay, if I enroll you in college, will you be able to study?" I said, "That would be great. I was a good student. If I could study and do something, it would improve our household's income." So, anyway, alongside my studies, I completed my nursing training. After completing my nursing training, I started providing primary care for pregnant mothers in our village home. I continued to study more about this. At one point, the roads and communication around the village to the city weren't very good. If it rained for a day or two, it would be very difficult to take any mother or sister to the city if they went into labor late at night. It was hard to get there easily, folks. So I thought, if I could set up a good, experienced facility here, it would benefit the villagers, and they could live in peace. With this thought, I spent day after day in the hospital, completing my nursing training and advancing my studies significantly. Then, I started a small clinic in our village home, slowly beginning to serve many mothers and sisters. Gradually, I saw a lot of patients. Then, I saved up money and made a better room, 2 or 3 rooms. I started providing service like that, helping people for a small fee, making sure they didn't face danger on their way to the city from this remote village at night. I paid close attention to providing good care for them. Then gradually, my clinic reached a point where the villagers in that area wouldn't even need to go to the city for any basic primary care. Slowly, the number of patients increased. I had gained experience in treatment, and a senior nurse from the hospital, who lived in our neighboring house, would come whenever I called her. No matter how late at night, if there was an emergency patient, I set up an operating theater there. And with her, I did all the work, including delivering babies. So, my work started getting a lot of praise, and the local people were benefiting because the roads in that village were often flooded, making it very difficult to travel. A little while later, I heard that my cousin, Sarah, he had gotten married to a good engineer from a good family. Anyway, I was happy to hear that. Then, after a long time, things kept going on like this. My aunt and uncle never even bothered to check on me, where I was, what state I was in. So, after hearing this, I told my husband, Sarah got married, but they didn't tell me anything. Why don't we go visit the house where I grew up, with you? So, I went to my aunt and uncle's family with my husband. When we got there, my cousin Sarah started comparing her husband to mine, belittling mine. She told me, my husband is an engineer, and all that, describing their house. Then she said to me, how are you living happily with your husband? Is he still working as a security guard? Or did he quit? Does he beg for food? She kept humiliating me like that. I took it to heart and immediately grabbed my husband's hand and left. I pulled him aside and said, let's go. We're not staying in this house for another second. But even after hearing that, my husband said, Mia, why are you getting angry? We're used to hearing such disrespectful things. Our lives are just like that, yours and mine. We've come home after so long. This is your own home, even though your parents aren't alive. Just think of it that way. Let her say what she wants. You should stay for a day or 2. But I said, no, we can't stay here for a moment. Let's go straight home. So saying this, I left without telling my aunt and uncle anything, as they were still being disrespectful. I left feeling sad. Sometime later, Sarah became pregnant. Then exactly a year later, something happened to her. She couldn't get from our clinic back to their house. The village roads, as I mentioned, were quite bad. It was almost 1:30 or 2 o'clock a.m. Someone was knocking on my door. I opened the door and saw an old woman. I asked her, who are you? She said, whoever I am. I heard you opened a health center here and help people. My daughter-in-law is very sick, and I brought her here. Could you please treat her? She's having some trouble with childbirth, and could you solve it? My job is actually to help people in distress, so I quickly rushed forward. I called the senior nurse. That night, she got up from her sleep when I called her. After she arrived anyway, that Nichika HTE. We found ourselves in a position where saving both the mother and the baby was a big deal, a very difficult situation. After that, it was all up to God. So, with all our training and effort, we delivered the baby. Both the mother and the baby were healthy. After they were settled, as I was getting ready to leave, I saw it was my aunt. And when I performed the operation, when I delivered the baby, I saw it was my cousin Sarah. But I didn't reveal my identity to the old woman or them. I carried a lot of suppressed pain in my heart. Then, the next moment, I saw my aunt, uncle, and everyone else had arrived, but they didn't know that I had done this. Then, when they beautifully held their grandchild and daughter in their hands, they were happy and came to meet me. They saw Mia, and their eyes popped out. They lowered their faces in shame, and my aunt came to me and said, "My dear, how much torment, oppression, injustice, how many harsh words we've spoken to you in our lives. When your parents both left you as a child, no matter how much we hurt you, we never let you lack food or clothing. But today, your hands have saved my daughter's life, with God's help. We never imagined you'd become such a great doctor. We never imagined it. And I, filled with jealousy, intentionally arranged your marriage with a weak, ordinary guy from a low-class family. Out of jealousy, I never wanted Sarah's husband to be above yours. Because you're much prettier and smarter than my Sarah. That's why I hurried to get you out of my house. Otherwise, no one would have married Sarah, leaving you behind. But mother, what kind of engineer? Where was that engineer? He couldn't save my daughter's life. He couldn't be of any use in my daughter's life. Instead, we had to come to your hands. Mother, you are great." Saying this, she squeezed my hand and said, "Mia, please forgive me, Mother. I've done so much wrong to you in my life, so much injustice, so many mistakes. I don't know if my mistakes will be forgiven, but still, I held your hand, Mother. Please forgive me." Then I said, "Aunt Carol, today I don't need to forgive anyone, nor do I need to ask for forgiveness from anyone. God has loved me enough, my husband and my talent. With these, I am very happy." A few moments later, I saw my uncle and my younger cousin brother come from behind and hold my hand, wanting to atone for the tyrannical life they had made me live. They wanted to ask for my forgiveness. Then, seeing everyone in front of me, I spoke with my stethoscope hanging around my knee. I said, "Look everyone, listen. If God doesn't want it, you can't harm anyone. All your life, from childhood, you've done whatever you wanted to me. You never looked at me as your own child. You always looked at me differently. You treated your two children as your own. Compared to them, you treated me like a maid, like a servant. Anyway, I don't mind. In life's struggle, I'm content with my life. So what? Today, I am happy enough. I don't need your forgiveness. I don't need you to forgive me either. I am who I am today. God has given me enough happiness. Anyway, don't take anything to heart. You came here in trouble. She's my cousin." I was surprised to see her. As a doctor and a caregiver, I tried my best. "So, since she's healthy, take her home." Then, that night, they all went home with her, and my aunt and uncle all understood their mistakes. They forgot all the wrongs they had done to me, all the torment. After that, I continued to live happily with my husband, and I managed all the primary care and other problems of the villagers in that area. Eventually, it turned into a private hospital and clinic. Plenty of patients come and go. As things went on like this, with God's will, everything becomes possible. We made a lot of money. We built a 2-story house, and my aunt's broken house, just a simple 3-story village house. My aunt was so arrogant about that house. So, friends, you really shouldn't belittle anyone. You shouldn't neglect anyone. Who knows when God will put someone in what position? No one knows. So, I suggest you respect everyone. Give small respect to the small, big respect to the big. And crush your own ego, your own arrogance, under your feet. Then you'll see you'll never have to bow down to anyone. You'll always be victorious. So friends, how did you like my story today? If you liked it, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and share it to give your loved ones a chance to hear it. And yes, friends, I'm bringing an even better story tomorrow. Until then, everyone stay well. Take care of your health, look after your family, and send your little ones to school regularly. With this expectation, that's all for today. Bye-bye.